Hello, my name is Agnes Molnar. I am the managing consultant of Search Explained. And since I do trainings and consultancy, I can see a lot of user feedbacks. And those feedbacks are actually usually bad feedbacks because when search is working fine and the users get the results they are expecting, they are quiet and not telling anything. However, when they are not happy with the results, when they don't get the results they expect, they complain, they give us feedback, and we can learn their pain points as long as we listen to them. So with this webinar, what I'd like to do is helping you with understanding those feedbacks and providing some ideas what to do when your search is broken, when the users are unhappy, when they are complaining about search, and how to help them and how to make them happy users as soon as possible. So my name is Agnes Molnar. I am the founder and managing consultant of Search Explained. If you have any questions during or after this webinar, just feel free to post it as a comment here in YouTube or send me by email or as a Twitter message at Search Explained. I am more than happy to answer your questions and help you to make your users happy. So usually the users tell us when they cannot find something, when the results they get are not relevant for them, when the results are outdated, when they are unhappy with search. And the bad news is if they are unhappy, they will leave search, they will abandon search and not use search anymore. So instead, they will call their colleagues, they will write emails, they will send files and documents as attachments rather than accessing them in SharePoint or OneDrive or in your content management system. So the point is to make users happy with search, to make them find the content, and then they will keep using search and they will provide you further good feedbacks. So first of all, I'd like to summarize the primary complaints I keep hearing as I consult or train my customers, and then we are going through each of them and I'm showing you what to do if you can see the very same complaints in your organization. So the first one is about the search results, the items and documents that the users get on the result set. The first one is no result at all, when the result set contains 0 items for a query that should provide some results or expected to provide some results. The next one is not enough results, when the users get only a couple of results, but what they are looking for is actually not in the result set. Also, the opposite is true. If they are getting too many results and not finding their documents, the documents they are looking for in the result set, like as a needle in the haystack, it is also a big problem or can be a big problem in the enterprise. Another complaint is when the users cannot find their documents. For example, I know I have created this document last week. Now I cannot find it. What happened? Where it is? I cannot get back to it. This is very common as well. Of course, if they get irrelevant results, it's a big pain point. Those are the results which are not relevant to them, which they are not interested in, and also the results can be outdated. You know the feeling when you are searching for a policy, for example, and you get the one from 3 years ago, and not the latest, not the current version. That's a big problem also, but the good news is search can help with this if you do the configuration the right way. User interface. The next group of complaints is about how we present the results. So the first group was what we present to the users, what we display. This one is how we display those results. If we don't provide enough information about each result, which can help the users to decide if that is the document that they are searching for or not. Also, if we provide too much information, when the users get lost, when they can see a lot of information, much more than they would need to be able to decide which result is the relevant one for them. Also, I can hear a lot of complaints about the filters, facets, or refiners. So the users cannot filter the results by the properties they want to filter by, or they can see filters which are not relevant for them, which don't make sense for them, and cleaning up those refiners is also important one. And last but not least, how we order, how we sort the results. Is the ranking model we use is the proper one, or we should reorder the results by something else, by the latest modified date, for example? That's also a big question. So let's see the first group of complaints about the search results, when the users don't get the results they expect. Number 1, 0 result, when we have no result in the result set. For example, if you are searching for the GDPR policy, which is a hot topic today in every organization, and you don't get anything, you get 0 result, that is a big problem. And when you are searching for an HR policy, when you are searching for a document template or a procedure and you don't get a result, that's a go. That's a sign that you should leave search and don't trust it anymore for most users. So what to do, what you can do to improve this experience? First of all, you have to make sure that the proper content is in the search index. So for example, if you are searching for GDPR policy, then you have to make sure that you have the GDPR policy document and related items and related documents, related policies, related forms, related templates in the search index. So crawl that content source and make sure that it's refreshed on a regular basis. Schedule the incremental or continuous crawls for a regular basis. The next one, make sure the users have access to the content. If the content is the content is always security trimmed by search. So if you log in and you cannot see something in search, that might be a sign that you do not have access to that content. So make sure that if you want your users to see something, you give access to those users to that content. Check the query itself. Maybe the user who has entered the query made some typo or misspelled something. Then it might make sense that there is 0 result on the result set. So check the query and make sure that it is correct. How you can do that? You can put a small feedback form on any of the search result pages, and it's a good practice for most cases. So just put a simple feedback form asking your users, hey, did you find what you were searching for? And it can be as simple as yes or no. And when you send the response back to the server where you store the response, and then you can analyze the response. Make sure that you also send the query and also the user who run that query. Why? Because based on the query, you know what the user were searching for, and you can run the very same query in search or in the query search query tool, SharePoint search query tool, and you can check it yourself. Second, based on the user information, you can check whether the user has permission to the proper content or not, and you can fix it if it's needed. So make sure, and also make sure you analyze those feedbacks and those logs on a regular basis, because it doesn't make too much sense to collect all those feedbacks and don't do anything with them. So make sure you listen to your users. Back to the zero result problem. The next one you can do is check the result source and also the web part settings on the page. Why? Because each of them, the result source itself and also the search result web part on your search page, can contain query filters that filter out the content that you are expected to display for this query. So make sure you don't have any filter set up that removes relevant content from the result set. And last but not least, use Search Analytics. Search Analytics can help you to identify the zero result queries. It can help you to identify the most frequent queries and many more. And based on that, you can fix and you can improve your search. You can add additional content. You can fix the permissions, etc., etc. The next complaint I hear quite often when your users don't get enough results. For example, if you are searching for something and you get 3 results, but you know that your organization should have much more than that. You should have more documents, you should have more list items, you should have people, experts around the topic, etc., etc., but you cannot see those. What to do? It's similar to the previous one when you have 0 result. So first of all, you can check if the displayed results are really relevant for the users. It's okay to get like 3 results for query, but are those really the relevant results? Or we are just filtering for something that is irrelevant for the users. At the same time, you should identify what the user's intent is, what the user really wants and why. And based on those patterns, the users are searching for this one and they expect that result set. And when you identify those patterns, it can help you a lot to improve the overall search experience. So find those patterns, figure out what else the users would need, and also figure out if the displayed results are relevant or not. If they are relevant, you just have to add something else. If they are not relevant, you have to switch them, you have to change them to something else. Again, you have to make sure that you have the proper content in the search index, of course, because otherwise your users cannot see that at all. It's similar to the previous one, of course. And also make sure your user has access to the proper content. Analyze the query as before. If it has a typo, a misspelling, what the user was searching for when he or she got this search result. And again, check the result source and the result set web part settings for query filters that might filter out something that is relevant for your user. And add more content to the index might help as well. In many cases, we have enough results, but they are outdated. For example, on this screenshot, you can see a search result that is from 5 years ago. If you are searching for a policy, if you are searching for a template, most probably you are not searching for the version from 5 years ago. You are searching for the most recent version, right? So this is a big problem in many organizations. And this is usually one of the first few things that we have to fix when we want to improve search. So there are 3 things you can do here. The first one is filter out old content. In most cases, you don't need documents from 5 years ago, especially if they are templates or policies, procedures, maybe contracts you need for the customer history. But in many cases, you don't need the old content. You can filter that out. And also don't forget that you can have and you should have different search verticals, and you can display the old content on one and you can hide the old content in other cases, for example, on policies and procedures search. So you have to figure out when you need the old content and when you don't need. And as long as you don't need the old content, feel free to exclude it from the search index. Or from the result set itself, if you want to keep it in the search index just in case, but you don't want to display it for the users. Another option might be to demote old content by query rules, by custom ranking models. You can promote and you can also demote content. Demoting content means you push that down to the bottom of the result set. So it will be displayed, but somewhere down on the bottom on the result set. You can also do that, and at the same time you can promote the new content to the top by using query rules or by using custom ranking models or a combination of those two as well. So those are the 3 tricks that you can do when you have outdated results. And again, don't forget, you can do different search verticals and you can do different query rules, you can do different filters on each of them, so you don't have to display the old, outdated or archive content on each page if you don't want. Another thing I can see quite often is even when you display archive or old content, you display it by using a different display template, a different color scheme. For example, archive content is displayed by gray, which means it is visual to the users that, hey, this is an old content. Or you can filter for it as a user, even if it's displayed. So there are different tricks that you can do, but the first I recommend is filter the outdated content out in every case when you don't need it, because otherwise it will be just noise for your users. And still, again, they have to find the needle in a haystack, the relevant content somewhere hidden in a list of outdated content. And then you can demote the old content and promote the new content if you want. The next problem is when we have too many results. It is also a problem. You know, when you have millions of results, the users, of course, can click on the next page, or the next page, but usually they give it up. So if they cannot find the result on the first page or on the second page, it's like they are lost. They don't go any further. Not because they are lazy, but because they want to see the relevant results on the top of the search results, and this makes sense as well. And however, this screenshot is taken taken on Google, but in many cases you can see it in SharePoint and Office 365 as well. So make sure you filter out the content that is not needed for your users, and you only display the relevant content for your users, because otherwise they will just give it up. So what to do with your search if you have too many results? First of all, as I have already mentioned, just filter out the old and irrelevant content. You can use crawl rules for that. You can exclude it from the display itself. There are so many options to filter out content. Demote old and irrelevant content, and also promote the content that is relevant to your users, and you can use query rules for that. And you can use query rules for that. In the next Search Minute episode, I'm going to talk about search query rules, so you can learn more about that as well. Or you can take my online course, which also has a module about query rules, and you will understand how to use them if you want. Very important to analyze search and your content as well on a regular basis, and have a rule, have a procedure, what actions you take with those analysis results. How you do that, who is responsible for what, how often you do that, what you do, what actions to take, who is responsible to take those follow-up actions, etc., etc. Why? Because this is the only way to improve your search continually. And also ask feedback from your users. You can do that formally by a feedback form on search, for example, by doing a survey each year, 2 times a year. It's up to you. And of course, you can do this informally, just to talking to your users, speaking to them, and collecting their feedbacks. Very important, not only ask for feedback, but also listen to those feedbacks, because that is the most important way to improve search and to make your users happy. The next question I get very often: where is my content? When a user knows that the content is there and must be there, but he or she just cannot find it. So where it is? There are different options to do, and I'm explaining those cases, those scenarios in a blog post. You can find the URL on the bottom of this slide, and also you will find it in the description of this video in YouTube. But I'm just going to summarize the most important steps to do when your users are complaining they cannot find the content they want to find. Where is my document? I know that document does exist. Where it is. So first of all, you can add options to reorder the results. As I have mentioned, the users give up very soon if they have to turn the pages of the result set. Maybe if you reorganize the results, the intended result and the expected results will show up on the top, and the users will be happy immediately. So this is one thing. Another thing, you can provide search-driven pages and dashboards for different cases. For example, if I want to get back to my recent documents, you can put my recent documents web part on your intranet landing page, filtered by the current user, last modified by current user, and ordered by last modified time in a descending order. And in this case, they will see the most recent documents by their own as soon as they log into the intranet, and they don't have to search for it, they don't have to go to different pages. Of course, you can do a very similar thing by educating them to use Dev in Office 365, and that also helps a lot. But even if you are on-prem, you can do those small tricks by adding search web parts to your pages, to any of your pages. Check the permissions, and again, check the permissions. If a user does not have permission to a content, that content will be hidden to that user by search as well. That's it. So make sure your users have permission to the proper content. And as I said, in Office 365, you can use dev, and you can also use the modern search to get back to the recent content instead of being lost in old content. So dev and search-driven pages with custom search web parts are my two most important ideas in this case to help the users to get back to their own content. The next problem I can see, and this is already about the user interface, how we display the content, is we do not provide enough information about each content. So for example, in this case, you can see I'm searching for something, I've got 3 results, but I have no idea what is that. I can see the title, I can see some description-like thing about this content, and I can see the URL of the content, but what is that? I have no idea. So I'm missing some information. I would need more information about the content. And the opposite is also bad. When we overwhelm the users by a lot of information added to the search result page, and they are like, oh my god, I can see 10 results, so much information. It takes a lot of time to understand everything. So both of them are bad. You have to find the right balance, what to display for each result, which makes sense to the users, which provides enough and valuable information to the users. And don't forget, you can also use the hover panel to provide additional information. You can customize the hover panel as well. So you just, usually what I recommend is to display only a couple of properties on the results to make it easy to parse, easy to understand, easy to get an idea what is relevant and what's not, and then use the hover panel to display additional information to the users. And just some ideas on the user interface, how you can organize the results by using custom display templates. So this is one where you can see that we display the custom informations on the right side for each result, because this customer wanted to have it easy to parse, easy to check what's relevant and what's not relevant, and that was one of the easiest way for them. In the next case, you can see a different display template displaying documents in a list view. It almost looks like a document library, but actually this is a search result set, and this one is also a document result set by search. So you can see, you can do anything, you can customize, you can define what properties to display here or here or here, and then you can provide valuable and relevant information about each result to your user, and then he or she will be able to identify and decide which one is the most relevant one. So the next complaint I can hear a lot is about the refinement panel. By default, we have 3 refiners in SharePoint and also in Office 365 in SharePoint Online. It is the result type, the author of the document, and the modified date. In most cases, we need more, or we need different refiners, because definitely you have your own custom properties, right? You have your document type as a property. You might use content type if you want. You have industry information, departmental information, geographical information, customer information, product or service information. You have a lot of custom information that makes sense for your users and would be great to have as a custom refiner. Of course, it is possible. Technically speaking, it is there. You can configure your refinement panel. You can remove the default ones like the result type or the author if you want. You can add your custom properties to your users. The most important thing is you have to have that metadata, because search cannot figure out your department informations or your document type information. You have to have that somehow. You have to have that on the content, and then you have to configure search to use those properties. Again, you can find more information about those properties in my online course at academy.searchexplained.com. But the most important message is just take care of your metadata, and then you can have good search experience. The last complaints I want to mention today is how the results are ordered, how they are sorted. So in many cases, we don't need the default ranking model. We need something else. For example, we want to order the results by the last modified date, or we want to order the results in alphabetical order by some property, by title, by the author, or by the site title, whatever. You can do this in the query builder. You can change how those results are ordered, and you can set it as a default for that result set for your users. So you can define if it's a ranking model or if it's a different property. And also you can provide a drop down to your users where they can change the order of the results on the fly. So for example, by default, you order the results by relevance, but they want to switch to order it by date, by last modified time, for example, and then they can use this drop down and click on date here, and then the results will be reordered on the fly. The same results for the same query, same refiners, they will just be reordered for your users. And it is very important because for some users the default ranking model or your custom ranking model makes the most sense. Some others like to see the results ordered by date. Other users like to see the results ordered in alphabetical order. And also you can change those options page by page. So for example, if you have a phone book or if you have people search, it might make sense to switch the default to alphabetical order, because in most organizations prefer it and most users prefer it, and not the ranking in case of people search. So basically that is I wanted to share with you today about common user complaints and what to do with them. I organized those complaints into two major categories. The first one was the results themselves, what we provide to the users, and the second group was the user interface, how we display those results. Each of them are equally important, because even if we display the best results, the most relevant results, if the way we display it for the users can make a huge difference. So the most important message I want to share with you today, and I wanted to share with you today, was listen to the user's feedback, analyze your search on a regular basis, check what you can and what you should improve, prioritize those improvements, take actions, and define the responsibilities, and do that on a regular basis. And also customize your user interface by using custom display templates. Don't be afraid of adding search web parts onto your other pages, landing page, departmental page, whatever it is possible. You can provide a lot of additional value to your users. And last but not least, don't forget, to have good search, you need good metadata. Thank you for your attention today. If you have any question, just add it as a comment to this YouTube video or send it to me by email at agnes.molnar@searchexplained.com. If you are interested in my online courses, just visit academy.searchexplained.com, and you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and also here on YouTube at Search Explained. We provide videos and search minutes, short videos, webinars, live Q&A every week. Don't forget to get notified, follow us, and I hope to see you next time here as well. Bye now.